Every public figure leaves behind a legacy, but sometimes a single event transforms that legacy into something much larger than the individual themselves. When news began spreading that Charlie Kirk had died, the reaction was immediate and emotional. Supporters expressed shock and grief, political allies offered tributes, critics reflected on the significance of his influence, and the news organizations across the country shifted their attention toward understanding exactly what had happened. Social media platforms filled the condolences, memories, speculation, and countless unanswered questions. In moments like these, the information often travels faster than verification, making it essential to separate the confirmed facts from rumor. This documentary focuses on the documented timeline while acknowledging that in the immediate aftermath of any major event, the uncertainty often gives rise to competing narratives before the official investigations are complete. By the time of his death, Charlie Kirk was spent more than a decade building one of the most recognizable conservative youth organizations in the United States. Through Turning Point USA podcasts, books, public debates, television appearances, and speaking engagements, he had become one of the most visible political commentators of his generation. Whether audiences agreed with his positions or strongly opposed them, there were few questions that he had become an influential figure within modern conservative politics. His schedule remained demanding, consisting of frequent travel, campus appearances, conferences, interviews, fundraising events, and media productions that kept him constantly engaged with his supporters around the country. Like many nationally had recognized political figures, his work required a highly public lifestyle in which nearly every appearance attracted attention from both admirers as well as critics. In the days leading up to his death, Charlie Kirk had continued participating in public events and maintaining active presence through media and social platforms. Friends, colleagues, and supporters later reflected on his continued commitment to engaging directly with the audiences, particularly the young Americans interested in politics and civic participation. To many observers, there appeared to be little indication that these appearances would become some of his final public moments. As with many unexpected deaths involving public figures, those ordinary events quickly took on extraordinary significance as the people revisited photographs, speeches, interviews, and social media posts, searching for details that might provide additional context. The human nature often encourages people to search for the hidden meaning after tragedy, even when later investigations conclude that many ordinary moments were simply that, ordinary. As official information emerged, law enforcement agencies began documenting the known facts and interviewing witnesses where appropriate, collecting evidence and reconstructing the timeline surrounding the incident. These procedures are standard reconstructing the timeline surrounding the incident. These procedures are standard components of a major investigation and redesigned to establish an accurate factual record rather than just to rely on speculation or assumptions. In highly publicized cases, investigators often face the additional challenge of balancing the transparency with the need to preserve the integrity of the investigation process. Releasing incomplete information too quickly can create confusion, while withholding information for legitimate investigative reasons, it may unintentionally fuel public speculation. And this tension between the public interest and investigative responsibility has become increasingly common in the digital age, where over millions of people can share theories long before the official findings are released. The national response reflected Charlie Kirk's prominence within American politics. Political leaders, media personalities, journalists, commentators, and organizations from across the ideological spectrum acknowledged his influence while offering differing perspectives on his legacy. Supporters emphasized his role in mobilizing young conservatives, defending free speech, and encouraging the political participation, and others revisited debates surrounding his rhetoric, activism, and the broader impact of modern political polarization. Together, these responses illustrate how deeply intertwined Charlie Kirk had become with the larger conversation about American politics, its civic engagement, higher education, media, and ideological division. News organizations work to assemble a reliable timeline using the official statements, eyewitness accounts, and verified reporting. As often happens during rapidly developing events, early reports evolved as the additional information became available. The service as a reminder that the initial headlines should be viewed as preliminary rather than a definitive. Responsible journalism relies on cooperation, documentation, and verification, particularly when the public's attention is intense for misinformation, which can spread rapidly through social media. For viewers seeking to understand events of this magnitude, distinguishing the confirmed facts from speculation remains one of the most important responsibilities of both journalists as well as audiences alike. The aftermath also prompted broader discussions about political rhetoric and public safety and the increasingly visible tension surrounding political discussions in the United States. Many observers reflected on how political figures from across the ideological spectrum now operate in an environment shaped by heightened security concerns, intense public scrutiny, and speed with which information and misinformation can circulate online. These conversations extend beyond Charlie Kirk himself, raising the broader questions about the civic engagement, respectful disagreement, and the responsibilities shared by political leaders, media organizations, and citizens participating in a domestic debate. For Turning Point USA, the loss represented a pivotal moment. The organization that Charlie Kirk had helped build from a small student initiative into a nationally recognized movement now faced a challenge confronted by many institutions after the loss of a prominent founder. How to preserve its mission while adapting to a future without its most recognizable public voice. Supporters looked toward the organization's leadership and ongoing programs, while observers across the political spectrum considered how Kirk's influence might continue through the activists, students, and the leaders he had mentioned over the years. History often remembered public figures through the institutions they built, as much as though the speeches they deliver. The questions surrounding Charlie Kirk's final days naturally drew public attention, but they also redirected focus toward the larger story of his work, his organization, and the movement he helped shape. As investigators sought to establish a clear factual record, there was another question that emerged that would outlast the news cycle itself. What legacy would Charlie Kirk leave behind, and how would Turning Point USA continue after the loss of its founder? Those questions form the focus of the next chapter of this documentary, where we examine the leadership, influence, and lasting legacy of Charlie Kirk and the organization he spent more than a decade building. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next episode. Peace. We'll see you in the next one.